And that's a really good idea, and it has helped with not buying quite so many books in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I say that, I've already bought like 4 books this week. Okay, so it's not working amazingly well, but... and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we're jumping off the TBR. I am so excited to say that I got sent an absolutely lovely gift from Naomi, so once again thank you. If you saw the end of last week's vlog you would know Naomi sent me Finlay Donovan is Kinlit, and this is a book I've been wanting to read for absolutely ages. I'm sure you've probably seen it around if you watch other YouTubers, because this book has been doing the rounds and I can't wait. So this is all about Finlay Donovan. She is a writer and she is struggling. She's going through a divorce, she's got kids to raise, and so her finances are screwed. Like she's floundering. But in the middle of a meeting with her agent, she is discussing about the fact that she needs to kill off one of the main characters, and someone overhears this and assumes that Finlay Donovan is a hit woman and wants to hire her out. I've heard nothing but good reviews. It's meant to be hilarious. And that's what I feel like reading. So I'm going to ignore my March TBR. Naomi, you are to blame for this, but a very welcome one. And read this. Because I made good progress last week, so I'm really happy with that. And then apart from that, I may continue reading little bits of the Metamorphoses, which I started last week, which is Greek myth. Technically, this was Roman. Same myths, different names, epic poetry, really quick to read because it's short poems, and I am tabbing this as I go. So I may read a few more of those. How much I get done, I don't know, but I'm not in any like rush to get through it. But I am thinking, even if I just read like 2 poems a day, that would be a really nice way to get through this book. So that's what I'm thinking to do for this week. And then I don't think Finlay Donovan's going to take me long to read at all, because it is 355 pages long. So I feel like if I really get into this, this could be done in 2 days easily, because I'm imagining it's going to be fun and fast-paced and quick to read. And then we'll get back to my TBR, which will probably be the book that you have all chosen for me for the month. So I'll need to go through all those comments, tally up what's been chosen, and then start that one this week. So it's going to be quite a nice week. I'm actually feeling really like good. Last week I was super ill and now I'm feeling so much better. I've got a couple days off before I'm back to work. So let's get this done. I'm really excited. But for now, for today, I actually need to go do some food shopping before the shops close, because it's Sunday and everything. Our local Tesco's closes at 4 today and it's now 2. So I'm going to get a wiggle on and do that. Then we're going to finish up editing last week's vlog and get to reading this. That just sounds like a great day to me. That is the plan. I'm super excited, and yeah, I will catch up with you in a bit. I hope you are all doing very well. Let me know, what have you been up to, what are you reading, how are you feeling, all those things. And yeah, I will catch you probably in a day or so, but for you it's going to be a few seconds, so I'll see you soon. Good morning. We're stood up because I am going to be filming straight after this update, but I have to talk to you about Finlay Donovan's Kinlit because I am loving this book. So I'm now up to chapter 28, page 220. I am almost done, and so much of me was tempted just to stay up late last night and finish the book in one sitting because it was so good. I'm loving this book. I have also tabbed it to the extremes. Like, look, it's so good. Why can my camera never pick you up? But look, that is just loving this. Loving this book so much. Okay, so Finlay Donovan. We know that she's a struggling author because I'm pretty sure I mentioned that already. She has 2 kids and her ex-husband is a douchebag, like an actual douchebag. I cannot stress enough how much he is a douchebag. But she is struggling and she's got loads of bills to pay. She's behind on everything. She has no idea how she's going to make ends meet. The books that she's selling, although she gets advances, they're only like little bits here and there, which is just enough to catch up on some stuff, but then she's right back behind again in a couple weeks' time. So she's really, really struggling and she needs some money, and she also needs an extension on the book that she is writing. So she goes to this meeting with her editor or agent and says, yeah, I need more time. The agent's going, nope, you don't have more time. You've got this time frame. You just need to knock them dead, get it done. And lots of little phrases like this. And they're talking about murder and stuff because that's what Finlay Donovan writes. And somebody overhears this and then leaves a little note on her table saying $50,000, because it's in America, and a person's name. And that's where it all goes from there. And it is a hilarious series of events. It is absolutely freaking amazing. I love the friendship that's in this. The friendship that blossoms is absolutely perfect. Like, I actually cannot get enough of this book. It's so good and so funny. So the tabbing system, I haven't actually written it up yet, as always. I think I am just going to save that for the end of the book. But we have Pink. Pink is for funny quotes, things that have made me laugh out loud, and I mean literally laugh out loud at this book, and I've already used them up. So I'm going to have to open another one of these to carry on with the pink tabs because I have used up so many pink tabs. This book is freaking hilarious and I am loving it so much. So that's pink, that's already been used up. Then we do have purple. This is for quotes that I love, and I didn't expect loads of these, to be honest. I went into this knowing it was going to be a funny book, so I knew I already had 2 tabs, one for making me laugh and one for quotes that I loved. And surprisingly enough, there's been quite a few quotes that I actually really like, and some of it is that friendship that's blossoming between the 2 people in this book. And I don't want to give away spoilers and stuff, but it's so lovely. And one of them is, just to give you an example, a lump formed in my throat at the pride that I saw in her fierce dark eyes. No one had ever treated my job as, well, a job. No one had ever defended it, been proud of it, boasted about it. It had always been me, alone, behind my desk. And that's their friendship that's blossoming, because Finlay has never had any support from anyone for being an author. Her own family's ridiculed it, her husband ridiculed it, like nobody saw this as a proper job. And now she has a friend that actually supports her fully in it. And it was just such a lovely, heartfelt moment. And then we go on to Blue. Now, Blue, if I can get the page open, is for everything to do with the hit. So the research behind it, how that all comes about, and then the very complicated result of everything that goes on with this. It's really quite funny, but I wanted to document that going through, and so all of that is Blue. And then the last tab that I'm using, we're doing quite an extensive tabbing system, I'm not gonna lie, is this sort of peachy, pale orangey colour. And that is for how Finlay Donovan has sort of accidentally framed someone for this, and I could see it coming straight away. So this is a book which is going to be like surprising in what's happening, like it's quite predictable, but I don't mind it for that. I think it actually works really well for being so predictable. It's just funny, and the way it all happens and the person who gets framed, yeah, that's hilarious and I love it and I just think it's great. So Naomi, thank you so much for this book. It has been an absolutely amazing ride. I've got about 100 pages left to go and I cannot wait to finish it out tonight. And yeah, I just, this was so good. It was so freaking fantastic. Like, I knew it would be funny. I knew it would be a quick fun read, but I didn't realise how much I was going to enjoy it. I am obsessed. I've already messaged both my sisters to get this book because they have kids as well, so I think they're going to relate to it even more, and it's just so funny. So yeah, I'm just telling everyone to get this book. It is so freaking fantastic. I'm loving it. It's so funny, and it's great. It's absolutely great. Now, yesterday I did do my food shopping, and as I showed you, I actually showed off the little like library bit that they have there, and I found Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart, and this is a book I've been thinking about picking up. Wasn't quite sure if I wanted to pay out for it like brand new, but it was definitely a book on my list to keep an eye out for, and it was there, so I figured why not. This one is about two gay men, and they are caught in a hyper-masculine world with two of Glasgow's housing estates, where young working class men divide themselves into sectarian lines and fight territorial battles for the sake of reputation. They should be sworn enemies if they're to become seen as men at all, and yet they become best of friends as they find a sanctuary in the dugcot that James has built for his prize racing birds. As they begin to fall in love, they dream of escaping the grey city, and Mungo must work hard to hide his true self from all those around him. So it seems like there's a bit of like gang stuff going on. It's set in Glasgow, and it's about two gay people that are struggling, and I think it's going to be a really impactful read. I've heard nothing but good things, so it is one that I've been interested in getting. I'm not a fan of this cover. My problem is that they're real people. Like, if this was done in like illustration style, 100% behind it, but it's the real people. I'm not a fan of real people on covers, but I do think this is going to be impactful, and obviously the cover is perfect for the story that it's telling. So yeah, this is one that I thought I would pick up. There we go. That's it. I'm going to go so I can actually film another video for you all, and I will catch up with you shortly, probably once I've finished this book, although now I'm in danger of the fact that I've loved this book so much. What on earth can come after this? Like, this is going to be on my best books of the year. Like, hands down. This is up there with how much I loved Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. It's such a good book. So what is going to come after this? I have no idea. But yeah, okay, I'm going to go do that filming, and I'm going to catch up with you very soon. Finlay Donovan is killing it, and I loved it. We know I was enjoying it, we know I was laughing and just enjoying my time with this book, and the ending didn't disappoint. I really enjoyed it all the way up until the end. You can tell from just the sheer amount of tabs that are in this book how good it was. It was just what I needed at that time. It was so freaking good, to the point where yesterday I picked up Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, because I'm definitely going to be reading this one. Probably not straight away. Like, I will admit, I'm probably not going to finish the whole series. However, it's not going to be too long before I'm reading it, because it was just so fun. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with this. It was such a good time, and what a great way to kickstart this week. It was absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much again to Naomi for gifting this to me. It was exactly what I needed. It was so much fun. So yeah, yesterday I did get this, because yesterday I ended up going up to central London, and I went to Clink Museum, which is like this prison museum up by London Bridge, and it was quite interesting, to be honest. Morbid as hell. There were so many instruments of torture, it was actually unreal and a little bit creepy, but it was something a bit different to do. So I did that, and I didn't stay out for too long, just a few hours, and then of course went to a bookshop, because how can I not go to a bookshop? Like, I don't understand that. I don't think that's within my repertoire to not be able to go to one. So of course, like I said, picked up Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, because again, they had the second book, but they still didn't have the first. So it's weird that I can go into quite a few different bookshops and still never find this first book ever, but they did have the second one, so got that. And then, as you would have seen, I was packing a bag for yesterday, and I knew that I didn't want to bring Finley Donovan's Killing It out because I wanted to be able to finish this one at home and just enjoy it all. So I decided to pick up a different book, and I had no idea, so I just picked a random one off my TBR for the month. That isn't a hardback because I don't take those out of the house, and that's The Last Girl. This is by Goldie Moldavisky, and this is a YA thriller. We're following Rachel, she's our main character, and she goes to a fancy New York high school because her mother is one of the teachers there, and she is recruited into the Mary Shelley Club, which has elaborate pranks that he loves to do and fear tests, but it all turns deadly as Rachel's past starts catching up to her. And so far I'm liking it. I'm up to page 38, chapter 4. I only read this on the train, didn't read loads of it, and it's okay. It does feel very juvenile, and just the writing style of it, like at points I'm like, oh, that's really good, and I'm starting to get hooked, and then every so often there'll be something that's really quite childish and I'm like, oh yes. And it's like, it's fine because we are following someone who is in school, and so of course they've got the usual teenage worries about like, does this guy like me, or things like this. But I feel like, yes, it happens, and yes, this is kind of like a good depiction of it, but also at the same time I don't want to read that. Parts of it are good, parts of it are bad, but the prologue I was really interested in because Rachel, in her house, there are two people that are suddenly in her house. She's home alone because her mum's gone away for the weekend, and then there are these two people in her house, and then it just cuts to black. And so you don't know what's happened, and then you're meeting her 1 year after the series of events, and you clearly know that she's recovering from the trauma that she went through, but you don't know what that trauma is. And so I'm kind of intrigued for that. We've had one instance of the pranks that are going around this school because there was this party that she ended up going to. She didn't want to go to, but she ended up going to it. And they did a seance, and there was clearly some pranks going on during that. She realised and fell about laughing, and now she's been ostracised by the most popular girl at school. So now she's got to deal with all of that. I feel like it's just going to be a fun light read. I have put tabs in this book in case I decide to tab, because you saw I was choosing tabs. I don't think it's going to be a book that I tab, in all honesty. Like, at the minute, it's not. Whether it gets to a certain point and I decide to go back through the book and tab it, because that is something I have done, but right now it's not giving me this is something that I would reread and I would tab and I would do. Like, it's not giving me that. It's just a really light read with hopefully some spooky elements to it, but that's about it. Like, I don't think this is going to be a book that stays with me, but it is good for a light read if I'm on a train. It's something that I can easily pick up, put down, because I'm not like so like, oh, I don't want to put this book down invested. It's an easy one to do while I'm on the go, because I can just be like, oh cool, I'll pick up, read a couple pages, put it down, get off the train, do stuff. It's an easy one for that. I'm also thinking it would be a good one to read with the Metamorphoses, because I would like to read a little bit more of this week and just read like little bits of it here and there. Depending on how much I read, just depends on how into it I get. Like last time, 60 pages in one go was great, but then I didn't read it the rest of the week because I was too ill to concentrate. So I'm hoping this week, because I'm feeling better, I can read it. Whether it's going to be 60 pages a go each time depends on how much I enjoy it, but I think having the complete contrast of two different books will be a good way to go, because then this one is just very light and fun and silly, and then we've got this one which needs a little bit more thought and concentration. So hopefully that's going to be a good pairing. We'll see. For all I know, I could get really bored and fed up of The Last Girl and change the book completely, or I may read nothing of Metamorphoses and pick up something different. Who actually knows anymore with me, because I don't. All I know is that this week started off absolutely amazing with Finley Donovan is killing it. Like, that was an epic book. As for today, I should be meeting my partner for lunch, so I'm going to start getting ready to go so I can catch a train, and then I'm home and chilling out and reading. So let's see how much we get done. And yeah, okay, well, this wasn't too long an update. I feel like we did good. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna go so I can actually catch that train, and yeah, catch up with you in a little bit. Good afternoon. I wasn't planning on doing an update. I've literally just finished editing bits of this vlog already and love the flowers. I got those, my partner got me them yesterday, so I got the vase and everything today and spent a bit of time doing that. And as you saw, I did a bit of food shopping and stuff this morning. But I have this afternoon. It is, what is the time? Hang on. It is 2:15 and I am on an early shift tomorrow, so I'm going to be going to bed early. But I don't have anything else to do this afternoon. Like, I could edit another video, but I don't want to spend my whole afternoon editing. So I planned to read this afternoon. That was the idea. However, I kind of don't want to read any more of The Last Girl at the minute. I am halfway through. I've got 230 pages left to go because I'm on page 203, chapter 24. And this is a fun book. But it's definitely a book that I think you would appreciate more if you liked horror films, and I don't watch horror films. I don't really understand any of the references that's happening here. I like the fact that Rachel's part of this fear club, and the fear club is founded on Mary Shelley because she thinks she's a badass, and I like those bits where you're mentioning her. However, they have a lot where they're having discussions about horror films and different debates and stuff, and I don't follow any of that because I haven't watched any of the films that they're talking about. So a lot of it is just going over my head. So this is just a simple, easy to read book, which is going to be great for when I'm at work and like traveling to work and stuff. It's been great when I have been traveling, which has been the main time that I've been reading this. I read a little bit of it yesterday because I had a headache in the evening. So it's been really good for that, but I don't want to sit there and have a reading session just reading that book. Like, I want to read something different. And I did think about Metamorphoses, and I have read a little bit more. I read it literally 10 minutes ago, and I'm now up to book 4, page 79. So I've read about 10 pages, and I do like it, but I've really got to be in the mood for it, and I kind of don't want to assess everything I'm reading either at the minute. I just want to go into a world that's a good book and easy to read. And this, while it is easy to read, I am analysing it, and so I'm kind of got the more focused brain on picking it all apart. Although I will say there has been a couple points in this that I read today where it's like I can see influences of other things, like Romeo and Juliet. I'm pretty sure there is a whole poem in here, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce the names, but it's Pyramus and I'll put the names up here. But their poem, it was like a 4-page poem, and that's the storyline of Romeo and Juliet. I'm sorry, but it's got two families that refuse to let their children be together and love each other, but they love each other anyway, and so they agree to meet up so that they can have like run off and all of this stuff. Except when he gets there, the guy thinks that the girl's dead, and so he kills himself, and then the girl, seeing that the guy has done this, then kills herself. That's Romeo and Juliet, right? Like, I don't know if this is the book that actually influenced that, but that's Romeo and Juliet. And then you've got the whole again, I'm going to butcher these pronunciations, Narcissus, where he falls in love with his own reflection. He sees his reflection in a pool of water and falls in love with it, and that just gave me all sorts of Dorian Gray vibes. Obviously Dorian Gray is slightly different, but I feel like that is definitely some lead up to it, so I've enjoyed it for that, because that's just been really fun to read this and see those influences. And like I said, I could be wrong, but I'm enjoying seeing that. However, again, I don't want to sit there and read that for hours, and I do have a few hours, so I don't know. It's snowing, it's been snowing on and off, so I don't want to go out either. Like, I've actually just got back from being out, like I had the whole morning out, so I don't want to go back, as much as the morning was just like routine hospital appointment and food shopping, and I don't want to go back out. It's cold, it's wet, it's just, no thank you. But I also don't know what to do. So I don't know what I want to read. It's a hardship. It's actually hard. I mean, I could read the book that you've all chose for the month, which was God Killer, and I am really feeling like reading that book, and it's only a short one, so I might pick that one up, or I may just choose something completely different that isn't on my TBR. I'm not actually sure. Saying that though, I have 2 books, because yesterday when I met my partner for lunch, we went out for lunch, which was a nice little lunch. We had some dim sum and then also nachos. Yes, a weird mix. We were in this food hall thing and we just tried different things. The dim sum was amazing, the nachos were okay. But after he'd gone to work, I decided to stop off at Waterstones, and they didn't have anything in London, so I went back home to my local town and decided to pop in there, and they had a book that I really liked that I wasn't going to get. And then I popped into W.H. Smith's and they also had a book, and I was like, oh well, I have been thinking about getting this, and it was half price. So 2 books were had. So we have, which I got from Waterstones, is Clytemnestra, and this is by Constanza Casti, and this is a book that was on my anticipated releases. It's definitely one that I've had my eye on. I wasn't going to get it because I'm trying to do this thing where if I'm not going to read the book for a few months, I'm then not going to buy it straight away. And that's a really good idea, and it has helped with not buying quite so many books in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I say that, I've already bought like 4 books this week. Okay, so it's not working amazingly well, but the idea is there. And I really was going to leave this behind because I saw it at Waterstones in central London and I didn't pick it up because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do it. However, my Waterstones by me had this edition. And I mean, how could I say no to that? And I know in a few months' time the hardback will still be there, but it won't have those edges. So of course I had to get it. So I've got that. That's a Greek myth retelling of Clytemnestra, who is someone that I've read multiple retellings of. She is the sister to Helen of Troy, and it's a really horrible story, heartbreaking story, and I've read a few different retellings now, and I've enjoyed all of them. So of course had to get another one, and I've heard nothing but good things actually. There's been some really good reviews about that one. And then, as I said, I popped into W.H. Smith's and they had The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, and this was half price. It was only £8.50. This is a book that I was thinking about getting, but again, I wasn't going to get anytime soon. I really enjoyed the Folk of the Air trilogy. It's actually, I've completed that whole series this year, which is pretty impressive for me because I'm normally really bad at finishing series. And I decided that I did want to try this series, but I was waiting because I wasn't going to pick it up anytime soon. But then it was half price, and I thought, well, there's no point waiting because it's not going to stay half price forever. And with W.H. Smith's, like, their stock levels, like, some stuff is always there and then other stuff they go out, and this was like the last of like 3 in the shop, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get it then. And this one is in the same world as the Folk of the Air, so we've got the Fae and all of that. We're following Oak, who is Jude's younger brother, and he is the heir to the throne, and I think it's like a bit of an adventure story. He's been growing up in the human world, which all happened because of something that Jude did in the first trilogy. So I do think you need to read that first trilogy before you can go on to this book. But seeing as I have done that, I read them all as Kindle, and I do want to get them physically. That is something that can wait though, because I am not going to be reading them anytime soon. But this was such a good price, I am holding upside down, that I couldn't say no. So there we go. That was this update. It was book hauls, and I don't know what I want to read. Like, I have no idea. And I really wasn't going to update, but because I have no idea what I want to read, I figured I should let you know that. And also where I've got up to, because I feel like I have made some good progress, which is great. I feel like this week has been really good for reading because I've already finished one book. I'm halfway through another one, and we'll definitely be getting this finished because it's such a quick, easy read. I've read a little bit more of the book that I'm slowly reading across the month. I really want to pick up something different today though. Like, I really do. Or do I just spend all day vegging out watching YouTube? And Animal Crossing, like, I haven't picked up Animal Crossing in weeks, so I feel like I could do that, but also I don't really want to play Animal Crossing. I might do some journaling, but that still boils down to the fact of I'm going to want to read a book for at least an hour or two before I go to bed, and I don't want to read any more of The Last Girl today because I read a chunk of that in the morning while I was waiting for my hospital appointment. So that still brings me down to, what do I read? Which I don't know. And you're going to find out really quickly. Like, after this, you're going to find out. I don't know. And I hoped that this would help me come to a decision, and it hasn't. But that's just the way it is. I am home after my early shift, looking a little bit ragged, but I figured I'd quickly update before I jump in the shower, because I finished The Last Girl today while I was at work, and overall this was okay. Like, it was a fun, entertaining, didn't have to focus hard on this book read. I don't mind that. Like, every so often I want a book like this. I will say the horror references way over my head. I don't watch horror films. I'm a complete wuss, and there is stacks of them in here. So I think if you like horror movies, then maybe you would get a bit more into this book, be a bit more like focused on it or something. But for me, it was just a really light, entertaining read. By the end of it, did I kind of see what was happening here? Yes, there was a couple of twists, but nothing extravagant, nothing over the top. And like I said, the writing was okay. It wasn't anything amazing, but it kind of depicted teenage life pretty well. But yeah, it was just about Rachel going through, as I said, she went through this traumatic experience a year ago, and then she's finding that for her to try and overcome her fear, she then submerges herself in everything horror so that she can try and acclimatise herself to fear. That's her way and method of dealing with this all. As she's doing that, she stumbles across a Mary Shelley club within school, and they set about these fear tests, basically pranks on these other students to make them scream. That's the end goal. And it escalates, it gets quickly out of hand and what she has to deal with. But it was just an entertaining read. As I said, lots of this is actually focused around horror movies, which I've not watched. So a lot of this just went over my head. But overall, entertaining, fun, light read. Would I reread it? No. But it's suited for what I needed it as something quick to pick up and go. And while I was on an early shift at work. Nice and easy. I haven't read any more of Metamorphoses, but I am actually thinking to take this one to work tomorrow, which, yes, is a bit odd because I'm still on an early shift tomorrow, and like I said, I prefer light things I don't have to think that hard about at work. However, I feel like I've had quite a nice break with this book, like my brain's had a break. And so I feel pretty prepared to take on this book. I may not get through a lot of it at work, but it would be nice just to get through a little bit more, even if it was just 10 pages. So I think that's what I'm going to do and see how much of this I actually get read. But the last time I updated, I was having a massive dilemma on what book was I going to read while I was at home. And I actually settled on one. I settled on The Thorns Remain, and this is by J.J.A. Harwood. I got the Locked Library edition, which is my first book box subscription, which I'm very happy about. And I started this one. So I am now up to page 138, and it looks like I've stopped in the middle of a chapter. I haven't, because there are no chapters. That's the one negative that I'm giving this book at the minute, is that there are no chapters. It's separated into parts, so we had a prologue. We've had part 1, I'm now on part 2, but there are no chapters. There are little breaks in the page, so like this one I stopped, there's little, you can't even see that, there's like little stars at the bottom of this page, or sometimes there's just a space between them, like this. There's a little like break in the text there, but no chapters. So that makes it's one of those things, like I don't mind it, but at the same time it's quite nice to stop at a chapter, and I just can't do that at this book. But the breaks in the page do signify that either time's moved or Moira Jean is now in a different place, because we are following Moira Jean. Moira is somebody that has had something really sad happen to her. So she lives in Scotland. They're in a village in Scotland, and this is a historical fantasy, and it's taken place just after World War I, I believe. And there's been a lot of outbreaks of flu, and I think like Spanish flu and stuff like that. There's been a lot of illnesses going around, and so the village that she's in has been decimated. Half their villages are not around anymore, either through war or illness. They are no longer alive. And Moira Jean herself has lost someone that meant an awful lot to her, and I've actually tabbed this book, and I am using this really light lilac, I mean it's really pale, to signify all those emotional moments, because she is really struggling with the emotion that comes with losing somebody that you love, and that is really quite poignant. But not only that, in this book, her friends, they went out to have some fun, to drink a little bit in the woods, and now her friends have gone missing, and she is now having to bargain with the Fae to get them back, because this is a fae story. And I really like it because it's traditional Scottish folklore and fairy tales. And I like that because that is something that I've been wanting to focus on this year, as you may have heard me mention a few times, that I want to really focus in on fairy tale and folklore retellings as well as the original tales. And so this one being a retelling all based around Scottish folklore is amazing. I'm loving that so much. But that is where we're up to. So as you see, I have been tabbing. I do have another colour of tabs, which honestly I think you saw, but it's a darker purple, and that's my generic tab that I tend to do whenever I know that I'm going to tab a book, and that is just for quotes that I really like or quotes that I love, something that I just think, yes, that's lovely. That doesn't quite fit in with the other tabs that I'm doing, but I really wanted to mark it anyway. And then the final tab that I'm doing, because I'm not doing an extensive tabbing system in this one, is this sort of grey bluish colour, and that is for things that are sinister. I haven't quite solidified it because at the start of this I was finding lots of things that were just really weird, like the fact that there's no children in this village. The youngest person is 14 years old. There is nobody younger, and I just found that really unusual. And I don't know whether it's going to get explained in this book or whether it is due to the war and the illnesses that are running rampant, or whether it's something more darker to do with the fae. I don't actually know, but I'm really intrigued, and so I wanted to tab moments like that, which I just think, I don't know how that links, but it gives this book a really dark and unsettling feel. And then also the darker bits that are linking to some of the stuff with the fae that's going on, to do with the bargains that Moira Jean is having to create. This kind of reminds me a bit like a darker version of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, because that book focused on fairies a lot, but in a really like lighter, cozy way, whereas this is a darker atmospheric way, minus the scientific part. So Moira Jean is having to find out as much as she can about the fae, although a lot of people don't even believe that they're real, and a lot of people have lost their memory as to why their children have gone missing. They're just like, oh no, but they're off in like Edinburgh or something, and they're like, no, that's not what's happened at all. But the village really doesn't believe it. There's only one other person that's going, no, it's fae. And so Moira Jean's trying to get as much information from her and from dealing with the fae as possible, and so you're learning about them that way rather than in the scientific way you do with Emily Wilde. So I really like that. I'm really enjoying this. It's really good. I've only read like little bits because I'm reading it after work, so I'm hoping to read some more. For me to finish this over the next 2 days, like today and tomorrow, I need to read about 130 pages a day, and I don't know if that's possible because I am pretty tired after work, but I am really enjoying this. So I would say if you like your fairies and folklore, or like The Cruel Prince or Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, but want something with that darker atmosphere, give this a try. I'm really enjoying it. And in all honesty, if it wasn't for the Locked Library book box subscription, I would never have picked this book up. Like, it wouldn't have been something I thought about getting, but this is really good and also so stunning. But yeah, that is what we're doing at the minute. That's the plan. This evening I'm going to carry on reading some of that. Tomorrow I'm going to make some progress with the Metamorphoses at work, and then we'll go from there. I think the next update will be me wrapping up this vlog, and I'm going to wait until I finish The Thorns Remain, I think, because I am really enjoying that book. And also I hate finishing a vlog when I'm in the middle of a book, unless it's one that I'm purposely taking my time with. Not that you needed to know that. Anyway, I'm going to go have a shower, and I'm rambling because I'm tired. So hopefully this update made sense and I haven't repeated myself too much. That's the hope, but we'll see. Anyway, yes. Shower, chill out, cook. I need to cook, and then I'm going to read. So shower, cook, read. That is all I want to do this evening, and then probably in bed at 8 o'clock because I am knackered. Good morning. I didn't update at all over the weekend. I did plan to, but I just didn't. I did finish The Thorns Remain, and I finished this Saturday night, and I really, really enjoyed this book. I've just had so much fun with it. I've tabbed it a lot, which I know some people are going to be unhappy with because of the beautiful stenciled edges and it's like broken up now with tabs. But I really enjoyed it. I had such a good time. I actually ended up with a more extensive list of tabs than I thought I was going to, because remember I said, oh, I'm not tabbing this one like loads. Yeah, no, that changed because I went with 5 in the end. This first colour, this kind of peachy pink, I'm not really going to go into because I feel like it was a really nice thing for me to go into not knowing, and I liked the way it developed and I liked the way it all ended, and it just kind of subverted some of the tropes, and the way this book ends in general is really quite hopeful, and I like that rather than going along with the typical YA tropes, if that makes sense. I know I'm being really vague there, but in case you want to read it, I liked that. So I tabbed the progress of that. Then, as you know, I had this very light lilac colour, and that was for times of sadness and grief, and it was a massive part of this book and explored really well, I think. Some of the sentences used to describe the grief were repetitive because of like the imagery that was used. However, I still liked it. And I think if you were sitting down reading this book in one sitting, that would get really frustrating. But because I kind of spread this out over a few days, I didn't mind it so much, but it was noticeable towards the end of the book that it was repeated. Not the exact word for word, but the imagery used was repeated. It was just maybe like shuffled around a little bit. Then purple, we know, was quotes I really like and really... It's that, it's simple, it's I liked the quote, done. And then blue I ended up putting in for different fae creatures we were actually meeting, and they were explained, and I liked that. I didn't do it at the start, but by this point we had already met like 3 different ones, and I decided, you know what, yeah, let me put those in. So we have all of that. And then the final one, which we know was the grey, which was a bit more like sinister, things that just don't seem quite right. And overall, I did like this book. I liked the darker tone and atmosphere to it, and it has really solidified the fact that I do want to explore a lot more folklore, retellings and the originals this year. That is something I really want to do, and this was solidifying that for me. And I'm also loving the comparisons between reading the same sort of story with the fae, but reading it from a lighter perspective to this one, which was definitely darker, and it was certain descriptions of things in this book were really quite grim, and I liked that. I ate that up. So that brings us to the end of the reading week. Actually, saying that, I did read more of the Metamorphoses across the last 2 days at work, so I'm now up to page 164. I believe this is book 4. I stopped keeping track of that. Yeah. I feel conflicted because there's been parts of this book which I just haven't enjoyed, like Perseus, his stuff, that was really long-winded, there was lots of fighting and stuff in it, and I just felt like he was really full of himself and arrogant, and I didn't like that. Plus Medusa's part literally was 4 sentences, and I felt that was just so unfair. So I didn't like that at all. And then we had Hades and Persephone, obviously different names because this is the Roman part, so Hades is Pluto and Persephone I'm not even going to try and say. That was really interesting. I really liked reading about it, especially because all of the adaptations, like more modern adaptations, are about how it's a enemies to lovers romance or something like this, like unrequited love, or it's really romancified. Like it's really that. Yeah, it's not that at all. Like, even the poem's name is The Rape of Persephone. If that doesn't give you an indication of the fact that this is not a love story, I don't know what will, but I find it fascinating that we've managed to change that to a love story and changed Hades into this really like unknown person, like he's so mistreated and he's like dark and mysterious but in a good way, and it's just like, well, that's not the way he comes across in this. I'm just saying. But so I found that really interesting. We've also had a part with Medea. She's had quite a lot going on, and she's really seen as a witch in this book, and it's really kind of hyped upon with like the potions that she brews and stuff, and so that was quite good. But again, very long-winded, although one poem in here which I did really enjoy and I found really interesting was, let me get my notes up because I have it all on my phone. to make life easier for me. Philomena and Procne, and I found their story to be absolutely heartbreaking and also really good description of feminine rage. That is like the original I'm getting my revenge on the what you have done, and it's proper female rage, and I loved it. It was really, really good. Terrible heartbreaking story, but fantastic. So in this I think I read an extra 100 pages, which is not bad, like 50 pages per day, pretty good. So to recap on this reading week, it's been fantastic. I actually think this is probably the strongest reading week I've had in a while, maybe this year. It's been so good. We started off with Finley Donovan is Killing It, and this is by Ellie Cosmano, and I was gifted this by Naomi, so thank you so much, Naomi. And I loved this book. I mean, it's tabbed to perfection. I've had so much fun with this book. I've recommended it to so many people already. Loved it. Absolutely adored it. New favourite book. Then I read The Last Girl by Goldie Moldovisky, and this book kind of met expectations considering I had no expectations. It was very much a book that I wanted just to be a light read. I didn't expect anything amazing from it, and it was that. It was light, entertaining. I missed all the horror movie stuff, as we know, because that's not what I watch, but it was fine. It was good just to break up stuff, to read on travel, pick up, pick down. It's not going to stay with me at all by any means, but it was okay. It was fine. And then of course The Thorns Remain, which we know because I've just said about, and my 100 pages from Metamorphoses. So I think this week, honestly, that has been absolutely freaking amazing. That's such a solid reading week. I am so impressed and so happy with all the books I've read this week, and even the one that was just like okay middle ground, that was fine because I didn't expect more than that, so I wasn't disappointed in it at all. So it's just it was good. It was a really good reading week. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you'd be interested in reading any of these books. My voice is... what is happening to it today? It's going in and out. I think if we've made it this far, then let's put... I really want to put something for Finley Donovan is Killing It. So maybe do like a weapon of your choice, whether it's like a knife or the gun emoji, or... do we even have a gun emoji? I don't think so. Let's just go with a knife. Let's do that. That's it. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it that thumbs up, subscribe and comment to let me know that you're here. My social media links and anyone I've mentioned will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next video.